piano, sang in the church choir, until she moved to Corona. My dad's sister, Aunt Jessie, was head nurse at the Corona Hospital for many years. There she established a nursing home for elderly men and women, and in this house she bought had many bedrooms, and she invited Dorothy to come and live with her while attending high school in Corona. Jessie did a lot of nice things. She bought that Laguna house also for us. So Dorothy said she would like to do that. And it gave, see, we lived in such a small house, these 6 people, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, that there were many opportunities that Mother latched onto for getting one of us out of there. And this was one of the ways that it just seemed like a perfect solution for Dorothy, a high school age child, to go and live with Jessie and help her with the nursing. And she had talked to Dorothy about nursing, and Dorothy was interested in trying it out. It was like a way to find out if she would enjoy being a nurse. So I can't remember whether she spent 1 year or 2 there. But while she was attending high school, she met a young red-haired fellow met her and pursued her romantically. And she might have married him had she not met Kurt. But after she left Corona, Kurt was a Pasadena person, and Corona was pretty far away, and I think Kurt came in on the ground floor there. I kept a diary in 1932, which I reread this last week, and I found that she was unhappy with her decision to marry Kurt. We all liked Kurt. He loved to play bridge. We were a game-playing family. Harry Dad, you know, we had no television in those days. But life was fun. We played games after supper, and it was always Dad who said, let's play a game. We would have spells where we would just play flinch. Mind you, playing cards were out. You had to use rook and flinch. And, I don't know, old maid was all right. But playing cards were of the devil. Because you could gamble with them. That's the only thing wrong. So Kurt would come over and play games, and Dad often said that you can tell what a person's like by how they play a game. Well, I think that was true, but we didn't really recognize that we should have seen some signals in the fact that Kurt would play games with us and ignore Dorothy. He would, he wanted to play the game. And never mind that she was over there crying because it was, she in her nurse's training, she had to live at the hospital. So she would have nights off. And we would always ask, as Ellie remembers, Ellie would always ask her, are you going to sleep? And you would just sleep at home, eagerly to find out if we'd have a little more time with Dorothy. And often it was no. She had to go back to the hospital. So here Kurt would bring her on her nights off to for an evening off and have dinner with us, and then they'd all sit down and play games. And it was for Dorothy's standpoint, it was a precious time to be off duty. But what would she do, sitting over there in the corner, and Dad and Kurt were playing checkers, captive checkers. It was a different kind of checkers. And they would be totally engrossed in it. And Kurt, we all liked Kurt. He had a nice way about him. He didn't talk about himself much. And he was struggling to find work. This was the Depression. I wrote down in the diary that he once went to Solvang. I don't even know where Solvang is. And he got a job working for $3 a day. And that was work. So it was a hard time. We were, I always tell people, we welcomed the Depression, because now everybody was as poor as we were. because Dad had unfortunate business experiences. And he'd been to business college, and he felt he understood business, but he trusted people when he shouldn't have, and was gypped out of a big hunk of his money. And he was embarrassed to be caught that way, and ashamed, and he was felt that he had let Helen down. She was kind of frail. You know, she had a sore shoulder. A bus accident when she was a child, in high school. The bus ran into something, and she lurched against the side of the bus in her seat, and always hurt. So I remember her crying over having to wash the sheets. We could no longer have them sent out. They used to come back so nice and ironed and crisp and beautiful. Now she had to wash them.
Mr. Tipton. Mr. Tipton was the man that came after the laundry.
He would come and get the laundry. Mr. Tipton. But here was this crank, you know, from one stationary tub out in the back porch into the other rinsing, and I never having her for that because I could do that. I could turn that crank and she wouldn't have to do it. Then you carry them out to the backyard and hang them on the line. They're heavy and they're wet and sometimes they drop on the ground. Do that one over. It was a hard thing. So we were already poor, watching every cent. And we owed money to the grocery store. In those days, you just called up and placed your order, and they brought it. It was just not very far away, but you didn't go and shop. You just called up, had your list. And we owed money, but they kept bringing the groceries anyway. They seemed to know we were a trustworthy family. Mother had a way with her, you know, we just loved her. Brought her the food anyway. And the house rent, $25 a month, that we owed to Uncle Frank, who owned the house. Because he owned many properties in Pasadena. That's how he made his money after he retired from being a school superintendent in Niles, Ohio. And he told us, we have a house for you. I have a house for you. It's a nice little house. And Mother always thought it would just be for a short time. And she called it the doll house. And our house was had the lowest roof in the neighborhood. So we played Annie over, throwing a ball over the roof. And the other guys were on the other side, you know, and they would catch it, they'd run around and hit us. And if you hit enough people, you won. You got them all on your side. Everybody that you hit with a ball, you got. So Annie Over was a neighborhood game that everybody loved to play in our yard. So Kurt was, we felt hardworking and, you know, not above taking a job for $3 a day if it was available. And we trusted him, and he just seemed to be thoroughly charming. And where am I? I really love him. But he did treat Dorothy well, and in my diary, I'm saying that I wouldn't allow anybody to treat me that way, to ignore me. And then at the last minute, time to get back to the hospital. Finish the game and then take her to the hospital. And it just seems so unfeeling of him not to be aware that her evening was nothing. He had a good time, but her evening was nothing. And Dad had a good time. They enjoyed the game. It was very competitive. And so, looking back on it, you know, it wasn't that much fun. We didn't really see the signs. At the time of their marriage, I remember he was working in a restaurant as cashier. And that was the best job he had. But I've been talking to Bill, and he says he did a lot of things.